said he wouldn't be here today. We'll call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. We've got 6 here today of the 8, so we're good there. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes from the March 10th meeting? Hearing none, we will accept the minutes as written. First item, golf operations, Pat O'Hare.
Okay, very good. Oh, thanks. The numbers are going down in hole-in-ones. That's usually tied in number of rounds of golf played. 15 hole-in-ones. Women had 2, men had 13. Longest was a 183, shortest was 89. Echo Mesa is the place to be to make a hole-in-one. And every time you step up with a 7 or a 9 iron, you got a good chance of knocking it in the jar too. So you might know some people up there. Mike Watt. Some of you might remember Lynn Watt, who worked in golf ops. That's Mike's 5th hole-in-one. So he's on a run, so stay away from him if you're playing for money. I wanted to recap this. This was a 4-club championship for our regulation golf courses, the men's clubs, chartered clubs. Put this together with golf ops, and the winner of each club championship on the gross side was eligible to play in this event. It was a 1-day tournament. This is the second time we did it. We did it in the fall last year, and now we did it in the fall this spring. It was held at Pebblebrook, and Kent Potts from Deer Valley won it, shot a 73. And we've got a perpetual trophy that goes into the golf ops lobby area, and the home course gets a replica of the plaque, and they put it in their pro shop for the year. So we're looking at trying to expand that. Seems to be a large interest in that. So congratulations to Mr. Potts. Last Saturday, we hosted our last event of our spring season. It was a 2-person best ball. We had 94 players. We sold it out at 100, but in the last week we had a couple of cancellations. So 94 and 24 ladies, and the balance were the men. 4 flights, and it was very competitive. Good to see some new names up there, and there's some perennials up there as well. But good turnout. Played it over at Deer Valley. Course was in great shape, and a lot of fun. Still haven't given away that $5,000 hole-in-one we're desperately trying to do here. It'll happen. Call center and players assistants both run. We call them temporary part-time employees. They run from October through April. Our 7-person staff and call center last day was April 29th. These are the numbers. Slowed down a little bit, but you can see 4,400 phone calls were answered. And those are the ones that are being forwarded from the pro shop. They were open 21 days, Monday through Friday. That equaled 21 days with an average of 212 calls per day. So there's 4 people working each day, 2 at a time in 5-hour shifts. So 7 to noon and noon to 5, and they take a lot of heat off of the starter in the pro shop. So very, very good asset to have. Want to give you an update. This is the bumps. Ever since Linda Plastis has been able to create this report, we kind of look at this on a monthly basis. What you have in front of you are days of the week for April, the number of requests that were submitted through the lottery system, the numbers that were successful in getting a tee time, and then the bumps are the ones that were rejected, meaning they didn't have a time in the parameters that you spelled out in your lottery. And then we have a staff member, I'm sure some of you know Tom, Bill, or Lou. They're calling you on a daily basis to say, hey, you didn't get your tee time, but this is what we have available. I talked to Sun City Grand quite a bit, and the difference between us and them, because they run a lottery, is that during peak season, when they run the lottery, they don't have room to place people on the tee sheet. They're maxed. And so if you don't get chosen that particular day, there's no place to put you. So they're kind of under a different situation than we are. We can usually find a place for people to play. But this is good information for us. And you can see that if you go over here to the small box here, you can see that Monday is busy with lottery requests, as is Friday and Thursday. Wednesday is not very busy due to the men's club, and they're being placed on the tee sheet. Here's an updated slide on tee time requests per the lottery. 1:30 was still the number one tee time requested, 2 to 3 times over. 10 o'clock came in second. So these are the requests that people are submitting in their lottery. So good takeaway there is don't submit it at 1:30 or 10 o'clock. You might have a chance, huh? And it'll be interesting to see what May. It'll go earlier, of course, because it gets warmer, right? All right. This was something that I presented to Golf Council last month, and I wanted to share it with you, and I handed out a piece of paper that's the overview of this. This is something that we're really going to try and drive home this next season, educate people on exactly the way the lottery works. For those of you submitting lottery requests, there's really 2 ways to do it. You do it by course or you do it by time. It defaults to course. And the challenge with course is, and we get this question all the time, how did it give me my 7th pick and not my 5th? Okay, so the logic behind it is, when you put in course and you put in the 4 or 7 courses, it goes across from course to course. Okay? So in other words, if you put all 7 courses and you put Deer Valley first, Echo Mesa last, it says, by time. If you do that, it's going to look at it's back to course. If you go course, it's going to go across, and it's going to touch all those courses based upon that particular parameter. So it'll go Deer Valley 1 and then across. Okay? And that's by time. If you go by course specifically, it's going to go down the course vertically. So let me clarify that. If I put Deer Valley as number 1 and say I want it between 7 and 10, and that's the only course I want, it's going to go 7, 708, 715. It's going to look at it that way. But if I go the other way, it's going to go across the course and say Deer Valley first, Echo Mesa second, and then it'll fill it that way. Does that make sense to everybody? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of times when somebody will say, I seem to get those last 2 or 3 courses that I asked for. Well, that's because you're not pinpointing what you really want. You want course or time. And which one's more important to you, pick that, and chances are you'll get what you need. But make sure you open that window wide enough so that you don't have this, and we get this in the winter, 7 to 7:15. And we only want the 4 regulations. Okay? Well, 4 times 2 tee times, that's 8 tee times that are available to you. Chances are you're not going to get that one. So the window, widening the window, and determining what's more important for you. Is it the time or is it the course more important? So hopefully this helps. This has been a big eye-opener for the staff. And it's just another way to try to share with you what you're trying to do and help you get there. Now, tea time bookings, we're still having some challenges. Totally has been a great partner. This lottery system is very robust. But in the last 6 months, we've had some challenges with emails and getting those delivered. And it's almost flipped. It used to be a month ago when we were talking, it was all about the lottery. The lottery seems to be getting better, and I'll get some input from all of you. Now what's happening is when you have group play being placed on the tee sheet, or if you're calling the call center, or if you're calling one of the golf courses and it's being placed on the tee sheet after the lottery, that's where we're having some challenges now. And we think that there's a couple things at play here. One, the servers. The lottery server is in Canada. We're not quite comfortable and sure on how the tee times, we think that's being done elsewhere. And we think Microsoft updates have caused some challenges. And we think that the person's email address and their provider has provided some challenges too, because when they update their email configuration, sometimes they put stricter controls in place and it starts binding things up. So always go to your spam file. Make sure you look in that before you give up on it. We're finding a lot of emails from Golf Ops being dropped into the spam. And this has gotten the attention of Total E, but Total E, like all of us in the workforce, they're short on staff, and the staff they do have are fairly new, and they're not well versed, and so they're playing catch up too. So it's on our front burner. We're trying to get it on their front burner to fix, and it just continues to be a sore spot. Now, we sent out last week, and maybe some of you got it, an email. We sent it out to all of our golf database, which was about 2,500 people. And I will say that we got a great response. We got over 500 responses back. And what we found was it's about a 55-45 conversation, that 45% of the population is still having problems with these emails. So we know it's a big problem. So we're working on it. Some of it we can handle and take care of it. Some of it we can't, but we're trying to do some pushing. So bear with us, and hopefully we'll get this taken care of. But when it works really well, don't you think? All right, let's see what else we got. Is that it? That's it. Okay.
Any questions for Pat this time? Being done, we will move on to the next is the environmental services golf meeting. Todd's not here.
No.
And Todd gave nothing to Pat, so I assume there's nothing to talk about. So we'll go on to the next item, which is golf budget expenses.
What would you like to have? Absolutely. Thank you, Mike. Before going on, I know that you had a tour of one of the golf courses.
We were at
Grandview?
Grandview, saw the aeration.
Yeah, and that's always an education.
Yeah, that was a great education.
So I think that's what he wanted to leave you with, was that tour. Okay?
Well, thank you, Harry, and the committee. I appreciate it. We have some really good performance to report. The reminder that these P&Ls, profit and loss statements for golf, are out on the website for anybody on the audience or committee members. I'm also going to briefly attach them, but the numbers are very small, and so we've extracted that data and put it into a PowerPoint format that I'm going to kind of go through right now. Stellar performance to everybody. There's a lot of people to be thanked. I harken back to the decisions that we made back in the January or July of last year when seed prices were, front and center, and a discussion about, making that investment. And, there's plenty of other things to account for that, but I do believe that the top item up here, the golf fee revenues continuing to propagate themselves in such successful year over year and against budget format is something to be said for the investment that we made. Ancillary, of course, cart rentals, range balls, going right along with all that roundage play. The merchandise, food and beverage is rebounding very well from the COVID era. So overall, just shy of $1 million through, this is all just through March. And the golf rounds, the only thing I'd like to mention is positive and negative. Go to the positive side, year over year against prior year, up $1.23 per round. This would be indicative of the outside play. And there's always a good element to that, the rebound, if you will. I guess it's not really a negative, but we are seeing record numbers of cards, discount cards, which is a great thing. It's people invested in it, and of course those are going to be a little bit on the lower end of our average round. So it's good, and we never would shy away from that, but that's my explanation for those components. Moving to the expenses, they're both, the first two against budget are positive. Todd and his people, of course Pat and his folks too, but the shortage in staffing mostly is occurring in the maintenance realm. Utilities, I think I've mentioned to this previous one, we had actually a wetter summer than normal, and the pumps, most of the positive benefit occurred in the early months of this year. And the two that we've noted in previous ones, repair and maintenance is more of a, I hate to say a crapshoot, but you really have no complete knowledge of how that's going to play out. Some effects in this current year, and then the more notable one of landscape maintenance that I was referencing earlier, that's where seed and chemicals, well documented about the seed, and for those that don't know, not kidding, 200% increases in the chemicals, phosphorus, and things like that for keeping the conditions. So overall expenses, yes, they're a negative, but against the $1 million increase in revenues, we're showing a very positive variance against budget, and would be even greater if we, against prior year, when we didn't have that impact for seed in the prior year. And so that's what's eaten up most of the expenses year over year. In your possession, and if you don't mind, just for the audience, we made a commitment that we would give you unapproved by the governing board. We used to kind of hold giving you any P&Ls until they were approved by the governing board, but as long as we all recognize this is draft, and this may be the last, this is going to come up for discussion in a few minutes, but this very well may be one of your last committees. I thought I'd give you the last update for April, a very similar to March and year-to-date, a very strong, successful performance. Revenues almost 198 ahead. Expenses were virtually right at budget, and so another nice contribution there. Year-to-date, I might highlight that while I give you the variances, right here, I know you can't see it, what I'm circling up on the board is the operating margin as we enter into what typically are two tough months, May and June, usually are deficit months, but we are in a positive operating margin, and there through April, a $1 million benefit. And I'd like to remind everybody that, there's no owner member that's ever forced to go out onto the course. This is the effect of discretionary spending, and we think we deliver a good product, and this helps out every owner member when there's a positive against the budget, environment. So that's pretty much what I had to say for my portion.
Pete, in the HR report, there are 59 active jobs available. Can you tell me how many of them would apply to the golf?
I don't have that data. Do you have any inkling of the maintenance portion? Cliff? We'll have to get back to you on that.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Yes. Thank you. This was something that I would like to discuss and get some dialogue going on this. It was last month, wasn't it, Tim, on the approval of the policy, and here's the policy statement here that was approved. And I'm excited about this in the sense that we can revisit this when we need to. I was talking to Todd before he left. He really thinks this will be a benefit during the overseeded season. The Bermuda coming back, and I don't know if any of all of you have played much, but Pebble Brook is really coming back strong. I wanted to put up here the purpose of the policy and the authority and the limit of authority, just as a reminder, and then start a discussion. And after talking to Todd, he's not overly concerned about implementing this tomorrow because of the Bermuda base going into a summer, rounds are being reduced, things of that nature. We've got some time we could buy here, but I would really like to start thinking about how this will impact us going into the fall, winter season. So what I've put up here as a proposal or some items to think about is with the purpose being to minimize damage, but to maximize the availability of a motorized cart for our residents and golfers. A couple things that need to be talked about prior to carts in general. One of them is that Grandview Golf Course on Wednesdays allow fivesomes. And I've done some research on that. The amount of rounds played with fivesomes was more so in January, and as it progressed through February and March and April, it diminished. And I've got numbers, but it's not near the number of rounds I thought it would have been in fivesomes. They're there, but like last week, I think there was 2 or 3 fivesomes for the day on Wednesday. So we need to kind of determine if that's what we want to continue with, is fivesomes on Wednesdays for them, because then there's a different set of rules for carts on that. So moving forward, that would be the first thing I would suggest. And then with the popularity of single rider carts coming about, we've got to account for those as well. And my thought or my attempt on this was to try to put as many options available here with the understanding that we're going to try to minimize 2 passenger carts with single riders, and then account for the single rider carts as best we can. So a single golfer could have either a 2-person cart or a single rider cart. Makes sense, right? Twosome would be a 1 2-passenger cart with 2 riders, a 2-passenger cart with 1 rider, and a single rider cart. And threesome, as you can see up there, leave some options, and then as a foursome. I still believe the medical flag policy is a good one. The big variation to this would be right now we allow medical flag riders to ride alone. I'm asking that medical flag recipients, if it warranted, they need to have somebody riding with them. So that would be the biggest change, along with fivesomes on Wednesdays. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on it. see if this is something that we're working in the right area. One of the things I'll mention is we've got rules up at each of the clubhouses. And it's interesting how they can be misconstrued. Somebody might say, yeah, there's a foursome, but one of our players is walking. So your rules say a foursome can have 3 carts, and there's 3 of us still without walking, so we're going to take a cart apiece. No, that's not quite the way it works here.
But they do that.
Yeah, they do.
I
They do.
argued with somebody about that.
So obviously there's some education that needs to go on, but I'd like to hear everybody's thoughts on this.
Thank you. Actually, my thoughts are, I thought we gave the whole power by our current policy to you and Bill. So from my perspective, I don't think we should even discuss this. This is, you know, we expressly gave the power to you and to Bill. So, I mean, if we needed to be involved every time it comes up again, we have a bad policy. But we distinctly made that policy for you and Bill. So I guess I don't see any reason to have it.
I think what Pat is asking for is just some feedback from our thoughts. And my thought is, I don't think you should wait to implement the policy until everybody else comes back, because the people that are here during the summer are the core golfers. And they're the ones that are in the groups in the men's clubs and things like that. So if you get them adhering to the policy now, when the snowbirds come back, they're going to get a little peer pressure from the people that are here to maintain the policy.
Okay. And that's great. Love to hear that. I don't have anybody on staff out there being able to enforce it because my PAs aren't out there. Which we could possibly talk about having a few hours out there, maybe. But that's the thing that my concern was, is I can put it up and print it up and put it on the door. But once they get past number 1 tee box, it's like, Katie, bar the door.
Right. Well, I've had several occasions where I've heard the starters ask people if there's 3 carts on the tee
Right.
to please buddy up. And the cases I've seen, they've done. They've come back and loaded on the bags to a single cart and done it.
Okay. Everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
One of the things we don't talk about in here, Todd's not here, but it's compaction. That's what we're trying to do. And so when we talk about 2 carts, we're talking about wheels. So 2 carts equals 8 wheels. Well, in the golf industry, like anything else, there's a chain, environmental chain, right? So there are a lot of 2-wheel carts out there. And, right, that's a whole other can of worms there. I was thinking of 2-wheel carts, right? So if 4 gentlemen or individuals show up with individual carts, right, motorcycle style carts, you're not teaming up on. You got essentially 8 wheels going out there. You got 4 vehicles. Okay. It would look fun, but allowable based on wheels. And then you throw in the 3-wheel guys. You got
12, which is no worse than where we are now.
But less weight.
Well,
But less
I
with grip.
agree there's more wheels on the road, but it's really wheels and weight. It's the combination of the two. So I don't know what the weight of the tricycles are versus a golf cart, but it's got to be less, I would think.
But what's the weight more than the golf?
Okay. So when would you, June 1st?
I would certainly, yeah. I would go out to the groups of the men's clubs first.
Okay.
And just go to the golf council and reinforce it with them that they need to be telling their folks that this is the way it should be. This is the way it was before COVID. So we just need to go back to where we were. It's not that we're taking anything away. It's just that we're returning to the pre-COVID situation.
Well, we are taking, it is different than what we had, because prior to COVID, we did allow 3 carts. We allowed, the person with a medical flag, if need be, to have a cart by themselves. So we are taking that away, pre-COVID. This is the way it should be. But there's gonna be a little bit of a pushback on this.
Sure.
Okay, very good. Yeah, that helps. Right, so you've got, we do.
Well, yeah, that's
That's,
good problem.
that's one. You know, you can't make an exception in my world on that. We have people that, I've got a cold, I'm coming down with something. I don't want to give it to the other groups, and we're to a point where, let's stay healthy, why don't you stay home, not play today? The other option is to play in threesomes instead of foursomes. So if that becomes an issue with somebody, that's another one. Or the last would be to get a single rider cart. And then you're guaranteed to ride by yourself. So there's options out there. They just have to help look for them. Right. Okay, that helps big time. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Next on the agenda is electric golf cart, scope of work, cost benefit analysis. At our last board meeting, the golf committee was given the job to look at electric carts, et cetera, et cetera. And, so Tim sent me a deal. One of my break it down in one getting rid of the battery, repairs, et cetera. Second subject, on the facilities, how much is it gonna cost? The electricity, the wiring, you know, how long does, you know, back to the cars, how long does a cart run on a charge versus with the gas carts, you just fill them up and they can go again, versus having to be charged for half a day. So my thought was, is if some of the people here wanted to be on the committee again next year, there would be that possibility, and maybe through the summer, work on this thoughts and ideas as a subcommittee. That's, I'm just throwing that out and get your guys' feedback. Tim?
I like the idea of subcommittees. I'm not sure that we need 2. I think that Russ Boston could probably provide most of the information on the facilities itself.
I think we would need APS to at least assist us a little bit in a lot of the draw. In speaking with several providers of, regarding several providers of the electric golf carts, right? They all come with chargers. And so when we're dealing with different types of batteries, whether they're the typical electrical batteries now where you have to throw a little water in them to kind of run the maintenance thing, or if we shift to lithium, and there's different kinds of charging units that come with those. So depending on what that actual draw is, depending on which golf course we're talking about, how many golf carts are actually there being charged overnight, will determine the electrical need there. Russ can't tell us that right now. In talking with some of the folks working in some of those facilities, if we use the microwave oven and sharpen a pencil at the same time, we blow fuse. So I'm not sure from a transformer perspective where we sit, and so that we would like to have assessed. The future of golf, the future of golf carts, electric carts are coming. We all know that. You cannot buy a gas golf cart in the state of California right now, not because they just don't sell them there. They're shifting to an electrical mode. So, you know, the future of the golf cart is going in that direction, and that's where we are today and what we have to kind of plan for. So, from a utility perspective and an infrastructure perspective, I think we need some professional analysis done on our facilities to tell us, are we good to go as far as bringing these things in? So you want me to move forward with this as far as the presentation goes and chat a little bit?
Sure.
So here's our fleet as we sit today. We have 146 carts in our fleet. If we were managing one golf course in a situation where we don't allow individuals to drive their own units onto the golf course, we'd have about 80 in our fleet, 75 to 80 on a normal 18-hole golf course on a rotation. So as you can see, 146 golf courses maintained over 7 golf courses is not a large number. And so you can see there how it's all broken down, Grandview being our largest facility at 41, Deer Valley 2, I believe. And then we go down from there. As far as annual rentals go, Grandview by far obviously rents the most carts there. Deer Valley number 2, and it kind of breaks down as far as that goes. But overall, once you kind of, you know, again, start knocking this down a little bit, average cart rentals per day, it's not that big a business for us. However, it does generate about $400,000 annual. So it's a good program. It's a healthy program. But again, just due to our fleet numbers, you know, the numbers really are not that gigantic. That's a picture of our season. You can tell when the winter months are, and we kind of fall off the chart in the summer. It's kind of looks like a great little roller coaster from days gone by. But let's marry that up to the rentals per course and how that breaks down by month. So you can see we rent a lot by the month, but when that kind of breaks down to a daily rental, especially in the summer, we're renting 6 carts a day. You know, it's not that busy. So when we look at the gas versus electric, right, we look at what the purchasing costs are. You know, the noise factor. Obviously, some courses have gone all electric due to the fact that their proximity to homes and those types of things. There's a noise element there. Obviously, emissions. Battery disposal is something that really needs to be looked at and talked about. Lithium batteries, the folks that currently have them now, they won't come. They, be it whoever is in charge of disposal, they come to your course and they will only pick up batteries if you have more than 10. So you have to store those for a while until you have to replace 10, and they're $100 a pop to carry them off your property. So it's $1,000 a lift, depending on those kinds of rollouts as we sit today. A little bit of staff training as far as if anything breaks down. Our staff right now are not really all up and into the lithium side. So we've got a little bit of knowledge that we have to gain as far as what we have to do if some of these things break down or get vandalized or get a little damp. A slide upcoming to show you a little bit of that. If we have a power outage for any kind of reason, we are suspect to if we don't have full charges on these carts when they go out in the morning, they may not make it back through 18 holes. And then when you're talking about electric cars or electric golf carts or whatnot, you know, range is a big issue between charges. So we have 6-gallon tanks inside gas carts that will get you about 250 miles and 20 miles, they're telling us, on an electric charge, full charge. We're averaging about 8 miles, a little over 8 miles on a 18-hole route. If people are driving around hunting for golf balls, it's typically, they'll put about that many miles on a cart during an 18-hole round. So a full charge hopefully can get us through 2 rounds. But what changes there are air temperature and the weight of the individuals riding in the carts will either increase or reduce that actual mileage as far as you can go. So the daily operational costs we can break down. Obviously, low maintenance on battery and the electric side, all good. Inexpensive service, and again, we can look at the purchase price. When it comes to fleets and rentals, I think people take care of their personal cart a little better than they take care of car rentals or cart rentals. So you're obviously going to put a lot more use on a rented golf cart than you do your personal cart. We'd be asking golf carts to do 2 or 3 rounds a day. By contrast, a private cart does about 3 to 4 rounds a week. So we do put some mileage on these carts. Average lifespan 5 to 7 years, and right now Pat's fleet is sitting at about 60% over 10 years old. So the average lifespan they're telling us on any golf cart really is 5 to 7, and what they're saying on the lithium side is about a 5-year rate before you have to start replacing a bunch of things. I'm a big fan of leasing, but anytime I get in a room with a bunch of finance people, they throw rocks at me when I say that. But so it's an argument to be had, I think, over a glass of beer. But I enjoy getting new stuff every 3 years. I do have a leased car that my wife drives, and it's a wonderful thing, and I get a shiny new rig every 3. But anyway, the finance people hate me when I say that. This is Pebble Brook on number 8 about a week ago. So these are the things that do happen. So when it comes to fixing, and this is a rental, it was not done on purpose. It was an accident. And so anyway, Todd's crew threw some ropes. They kind of rolled it in, kind of like a lasso at the rodeo, but they did bring it in, and I don't believe Pat's crew has been able to get this started yet. But anyway, that is expensive if that were to happen, and it does more frequently than you want to know. So cart replacements, if we're looking at doing all 146, and I doubt we do it all at one time, right? But just for the sake of having a slide up here, right, they're about $8,000 a piece. And I do believe that includes the charger, but that I do not know that for sure. 146 on the gas, 6,000 a pop. So you can see the little difference there. The lifespan, replacing a car battery or the golf cart battery on a gas unit is about $160 compared to the $2,500 in the lithium side. So there's a breakdown there, and it's something that we have to pay attention to moving forward. But again, that would be something we'd have to look at if we were going to do 100% fleet replacement right out of the chute. So when it comes to cart rentals, we're doing about 320,000 rounds a year total golf. 10% of that is rentals, so about 31 grand going out as far as number of rental carts of the 146. So you can see they're getting a lot of use. We do about 86 a day, and we bring in about $400,000 a year. Now, again, back to the lease thing, and don't throw stones, but we could lease golf carts for a pretty nominal amount of money, and that 400 grand would be about more than half of what it would cost to lease 146 carts. We could make money on that if we did it, but that is a commitment for long term. Your payments, once you lease, right, your payments don't go away. When you own golf carts, your payments go away. So that's the argument that I'll have, and I'll continue to drink red beer and fight for leases, but I don't know if I can convince the right people to do so. So moving forward, I kind of assembled a little bit of a scope of work. Harry, your comment earlier kind of starts the first bullet point here. From an architectural side and electrical engineering side, we would really need an RFQ, because I would like all 7 of our golf courses, all of the transformers outside of those buildings assessed if we have enough draw to pull this off, right? So we have to do a fleet assessment, which we do. We know the age of our stuff, but that all needs to be assessed. Which ones can we give up? Which ones do we want to switch around if we want to go that route? The analysis, the electric demands per facility is really the key point here. The cost of a retrofit of those buildings has to be assessed. Again, I threw lease package up there. If we wanted to take a stab at this in the very near future, I would recommend Deer Valley being the golf course we do it at. Again, it's number 2 on the list as far as rentals go, but Grandview is going to be under repair with the irrigation system, and so if we wanted to do something sooner than that, Grandview is going to be shut down for a while. So as far as if you want to do a demo project and lease for a couple years to try this out, we can. Deer Valley would be the course I would recommend doing it on. We have cart rental history going back plenty of years to kind of look at our numbers. And then as funding goes, you know, we can throw it in our operational. We can look at the reserve study as far as that goes, and if there are any grants available, we can certainly look at that as well. So just real quickly, as far as next steps go, again, infrastructure RFQ is big. We have to assess our power capabilities before we start dropping a bunch of chargers in our roofs to determine the electrical need and what cart space storage is available. We don't really have a lot of room to play with. Our carts are stored in there very, very tight. I stepped off Sun City, my neighborhood has with Willowbrook, Willow Creek combined golf course. They've got a cart storage facility there with 28 carts in it. They have their ball picker in it, and they have a maintenance vehicle in it, and it is 75 feet wide by 30 feet long, which is much, much larger than anything we've got, and that's for 28 carts. But it's like a 4 or 5 bay garage, and they've got all that. They got the ceiling room where they have racks put up there with the chargers upstairs built in it, and the wires dropping down to plug everything in. Very similar to the picture. But again, infrastructure need is something that we have. Pat, I think all of our carts are indoor, but there may be kind of an indoor-outdoor screen kind of fencing thing around some of them. And I would be, you know, in today's world, we need to make sure everything's secure and buttoned up because things walk. Probably our latest, and I'll just throw this, and it's being recorded anyway, so oh well. But the CC&Rs are just seeing a lot of theft these days, and it's not, I don't want to say it's humorous, but all landscape lighting is being lifted. You know, if it's solar-powered landscape lighting, so if you go out 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night and drive by the river bottom, it's very well lit. All cardboard boxes light up at night. It's kind of cool. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. So, anytime.
Yeah, just out of, on the 400,000 revenue,
Yes,
that's
sir.
just revenue. What's an expense item against it per se?
Gasoline.
But I mean, out of the 400,000 of revenue, do we make 100,000 profit? Is that what you're saying or not? Any idea? I mean, you just said golf cart rental revenue, 400,000, but if our expenses are 500,000, I mean, that's,
Oh, no. But that would be, I was comparing that to the lease package. The lease package would be about 200 grand
okay, thank you.
on electric.
Thank you. In the short term, it doesn't solve the problem that I have, which is not enough carts. I'd like to have 30 carts at Deer Valley, but because of the spacing and the additional costs with the irrigation project being put on, you know, there's just some things that prioritizing more. Right. Sure.
So it does have to be looked into this too.
Yeah, absolutely.
How you want to do a transition into.
I agree.
I pass.
I guess the question is, where do we go from here? Harry and I have both put together what we think we would like to see from the scope of work. We'd be glad to hand those to Pat and compare with what he has and what you've presented. The other thing is, how do we get APS to do this? Do we have to pay him to do it?
Yes, sir. In speaking with Carl, from the project management perspective, APS gave him a quote of about $2,500 a facility.
to come in and assess it.
Assess, yes,
Is there room in the budget for it?
sir.
We have general allowances, but it'd be nice if you guys wanna maybe propose that. Want to get this done next year, or do you want to do several courses? It's up, there's a lot
Well,
of.
I'm not ready to jump into it. I want to see the cost benefit analysis. That's what I want to see.
Right,
I mean, and to do that, we need the data.
right.
And I want to see as much of the data as Harry and I have asked for, and then we can sit down and say,
Right.
is it the right time to do it? Is it a priority for us to do it?
Right.
And just look at what the benefit is versus the cost.
Right, and that's kind of what's kind of been spelled out here in the scope. So,
Nothing directly aside.
right. So there's still time before the approval of the budget. If you wanted to put something in the fiscal year coming up, it'd be about 25 grand. And that would help offset the cost of any kind of architectural assessment and the power assessment provided by the power company to do that kind of thing. I mean, like I said, it's coming. It's good. I mean, we're going to have to do that eventually. And it would be good to have that information in our back pocket moving forward to see where we are, because we really do blow fuse at most of our golf courses if we start doing any kind of overcharging. Pat has golf tournaments that he plugs in speakers to do broadcasting outside to whatnot, and it trips up things inside. We're operating tight when it comes to what's available to us on the power side.
I got a question, Bill. What I'm hearing, Pat says that need more carts, need more space to park them. So what we're talking about, I think, should be done if it's electrical carts, gas carts, whatever. I think we need to sit down and analyze that from the perspective that if we're gonna need more carts, we gotta have more space, and it doesn't make any difference what kind of cart we got. Am I wrong?
No, sir.
Okay. One of our board members, Sharon, would like to.
I just have a couple of questions for you, so you're gonna have to share. First of all, I'm not used to this. Sharon Heddick, and I'm a board member. First of all, on the cart replacement, could you bring that back up again?
Sure.
There isn't anything on there that says what the gas costs would be to offset what the electric charges are. So you haven't got that piece put in there, which is, and then again, you also need to know what the cost of the electricity is on the other side. They have to have both those pieces. One will offset the other by quite a bit. I mean, the gas itself, a car, for example, takes about 3 years before you recognize a difference if you bought an electric car, and you don't come out even until after you get by 3 years. So,
Sharon, that information is part of what Harry and I are asking for.
okay, and so to APS's question, they used to have a grant that they would give you for infrastructure. They've stopped them. That doesn't mean they won't start them again, because there is infrastructure money coming. $543 million is coming into the state of Arizona, and we can ask for some of that for if it's infrastructure specific, which would also be building the additional carts and putting electricity in. I really want to thank Pat, first of all, because he took Dr. Vines and I through Pebblebrook to kind of give us an overview of what was needed and what was done out there. In my research and looking at the electric carts, there's an 80-20 rule, which Pat and I have talked about in regards to you can't just take the carts out the next morning and start all over again and keep using the same carts. They have to, you don't charge them unless they're down to 20%. You don't charge them if they already have 80% in them. So that means he has to rotate what's there. It's not just a simple thing of pulling the carts in. And that's the reason for the chargers and the information about which ones have to be charged and for how much. So that's another piece of it that we discussed. And as to the lithium battery, Pat, the gentleman's name is Andy Litton, and he works in the county offices, and he's getting me the name of the person that will be at the new recycling center for you, okay? And he can tell you whether or not we would be charged or not charged, because he originally stated there would be no charge for recycling for anybody that came from Sun City West, because they were building this out in our neighborhood. So again, not just lithium batteries, but recycling in general. So I've got calls into him, I just haven't heard back yet, okay? So I was trying to at least see if that would be free. or in some way discount it. And maybe if we have enough of them, also, he would just arbitrarily come out to pick them up all the time. So they're looking for ways to be helpful in the community. Okay, where'd you go? Okay, and then the other thing was, can we, are you forecasting right now based on, for example, Grandview, how many people actually come in from out? So you know, I mean, I'm assuming you do this anyway, but as to how many golf carts you're going to need there, is that why you have more people come to play Grandview that are from out of the area? Is that correct?
We try to push all of our outside play
Onto
as
Grandview.
we can to Grandview.
So that's why you have so many carts there and why you also have so many people there. Is that correct? Am I correct in that assumption?
It's not our busiest golf course for a number of rounds of play.
Right.
Deer Valley is,
Uh-huh.
but it has our largest fleet, so we can accommodate more outside play.
Right. I really like the, okay, I assumed you did. I just wanted to make sure my assumption was correct. I really think that Bill's idea of leasing this or trying it on a trial basis for one of the areas might be a really good thing. But if you're looking at doing the infrastructure itself, the more you have to do, the more money it costs, true, but also your grant or your information that you're asking for would be a larger sum of money, which would be better than just saying one area to do, just as a comment.
Right. But we still need the data before we ask for
Oh,
a
yes.
grant.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I still think the lease part, it's just like whether or not you lease a car or you buy a brand new car that's just out. So a lot of people will lease it the first year, make sure that the car actually performs the way you think it's going to. I found out for myself because I checked with Grand, I didn't realize that although they have electric golf carts, they're all battery acid. They are not lithium, none of them.
Mhm.
So that makes a difference too, and they just give the golf carts back after 4 years as a whole. So to me, that was more information that I didn't understand that they weren't using the lithium yet, because I asked specifically how long, like Pat did, I wanted to see if they were using theirs 4 or 5 years, which they're still doing even with the battery, so acid battery. So just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the audience? Okay, committee, I guess, what would you guys like to, how do you think we should proceed?
Well, I think what Tim said is what we need to do first with the APS thing and see if we can get any. We're gonna have to know that no matter what, correct? So we should authorize, I don't know, the board, which is you guys, to go ahead and put the money in the budget to do so.
What we would have to do is go to the BNF committee and make the proposal to them so that they can include it in their budget package. So I assume you've got some documentation that we could provide to them on what the cost is for and what it's going to be used for?
Yes, sir.
So when's the next BNF meeting?
Tuesday, and the agenda's kind of already set.
Already set.
Well, you got
Although we have time to revise it.
you got 48 hours.
Yeah,
Needs-
that is, yeah, because we've got 2 days.
From my perspective, I think the place that has to start is APF and the building side of it. So that we have that in place before we ever get to leasing cars, buying cars, et cetera. And I don't think it's going to be money wasted, because that sounds like it's something that's needed today for our existing facilities. And if we're gonna have even new gas carts, we gotta be thinking about what we're gonna need in the future. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir. I think on the, excuse me, on the slide behind you basically sums that up in bullet point fashion. If we do an infrastructure RFQ, we're looking at to assess the existing power capabilities of where we're at, determine that electrical need, and then also look at Pat's storage assessment as to what he has currently and what he may need if those cart storage facilities can be expanded. And then come back and review those findings once APS gets through. Now, what I don't have is APS's schedule, and God knows where that gets queued.
Mhm.
I got a question for you, Bill. Then, do you need anybody from this committee working on this part of it? This, to me, appears more of something for operations to be looking at rather than the committee to be involved in.
Well, you mentioned earlier a couple of subcommittees. Tim kind of combated that back down, maybe like one. But if anybody wants to volunteer and help us with this, do some walkthroughs and assess, great. I mean, I'm not opposed to it.
President Sue.
Just wondering if you're better off to just try one site rather
I
than
think-
assessing all of the sites because of the cost?
I mean, that's,
What
that's,
I'm hearing though is, you know, each site has the same problem.
Right.
And if we're
So-
gonna need more carts, it's gonna be a problem with every site.
Correct.
So why not get the assessment done of the whole community and then go from there?
What's the cost difference?
like $2,100 times 7. So it's 2,100 or 21 times 7. Ballpark, yeah. Yeah. For an infrastructure investment, I mean, that's kind of where we'd go.
Does this need to go through an RFQ to budget
The
finance?
RFQ is for soliciting architect and electrical engineer
Right.
to work with, but as far as, I mean, no, it's within the general manager's funding allowance under 49.9.
Right.
And I think the question Pete had was take it out of allowance or make a recommendation to BNF and the governing board to put it in as a line item.
Well, this whole thing started as a test, a pilot program. So I think Sue may have a good point. Let's just pick a course that we want to do it at, get that course assessed. There'll be some carryover of that information to the other courses, and we can just keep it narrow rather than going full steam all the way down the track.
I hear a second.
I don't think you need to change the budget for that.
Yeah.
No, for 2,000, I wouldn't touch it. Right.
The rest of the committee agree with that?
So assess Deer Valley.
But you're gonna have so many differences with Stardust, because that's not an enclosed cart facility.
No, but that's just a pilot to see we need to start somewhere to get the cost benefit and the cost benefit analysis. And what it's gonna be at one is, we'll carry over to the other ones. There may be nuances at one place versus another versus electrical needs, but we'll have a better general idea of what the scope of it's gonna be.
Everybody agreeable with that?
So comparing square footage, price of all that kind of stuff, just to say, take one spot, Deer Valley, expand it both electrically and footprint wise, use that as the model, and then we can see what the it actually does.
All I'm asking for is the data that it would take to do all that. Okay, have APS come out and say, you've got enough juice, you don't have enough juice. Here's what you need to install the stuff in. If we need to expand, I mean, you're talking a quantum jump there when you're talking about adding to facilities. Okay, so if we can just get that data with Harry's permission, get that data and let us take a look at it and we'll go from there.
Totally in agreement.
Okay.
September would be likely next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next item, is there any outstanding issues that need to be brought up?
I do have one, and this is for Pat. Pat, some of the guys that play at Grandview were telling me that the white gold combo tees have been re-rated.
White gold, yes.
Okay, and there's also a set of gold green tees out there. Can we get that information?
Sure.
And-
It's on the AG website, or I've got it either way.
Well, I want to look hole by hole to see which holes are gold, which ones are green, or which ones are white. I've got the last one you sent, but it changes the rating and the slope by a little bit, and I just wondered which holes they're changing. And the other one is Pebblebrook. Isn't there combo tees at Pebblebrook also?
For the ladies,
For the ladies?
that's already been rated.
Yeah, I just would like that information.
Any other issues? Okay, the last item is a reminder, and that's to complete your online committee evaluations and submit online committee evaluations. And I'm going to do, two of the committees are doing it. Okay, I thought I was loud enough, but we're, need to do the evaluations. Two committees are going to do the evaluations by having a meeting after their meeting. I said, I don't think we need to do that. We're gonna do ours the old way, online evaluations. But there is one thing that's going to be a little different about our evaluation, is yesterday afternoon, I baked 3 fresh lemon pies. And so everybody here is gonna get a piece of pie, including the big staff back there. Only one caveat. You have to say I was better than Tim. Is there any other?
Can I
Karen?
just have you all revisit your recommendation, please? That was made. I didn't see a consensus of your committee and a restatement of your recommendation on the cost benefit.
Sure, the recommendation is to use discretionary funds that are in the budget to have APS do a power evaluation on Deer Valley with the thought of charging electric carts. And do we have consensus on that?
Do we have consensus?
Okay.
There was a no? Would you like to speak? Okay.
So when you don't achieve 100% consensus, it's basically like a vote, which you sort of took just now. So just so everyone understands, it does.
Yep.
So does that mean we're not going to ask them to do it?
Yeah.
So that means you achieve, you're going to make a recommendation for the way you
Yeah.
realized it. You just have one, you didn't achieve 100% consensus.
Yes.
So the idea is to be sure you know exactly where everyone's standing.
Patty.
Yeah. Are there any committee member comments? No committee, are there any audience contents? Sharon?
I just want to thank you for looking at this.
Told you we would. Told you we would.
Well, being there's no other comments, I think the hardworking boys in the back is going to get the pie first, so I'm going to go up and start cutting pie. Meeting adjourned.
email that I received yesterday from one of my managers, and I just wanted to share it with you. I'll explain what this is all about. One of my managers got this email from a group of resident golfers who happened to be at Deer Valley, who played Sunday morning, Mother's Day morning, and don't know the number of players. But I wanted to bring this to you just to discuss real quickly on how to best handle this. The group was socializing out on the front patio. One of their members had been absent for a while due to COVID. They were welcoming this person back. Out comes the birdie juice. Okay? Now, since we are at Deer Valley and the other golf courses, we have a liquor license, and it's illegal to have liquor from another source being consumed at a facility that has a liquor license. A person could be fined, we could lose our liquor license, and so it was on the patio. This email basically says, hey, your starter was rude on how he handled it. And
got on the PA and started saying, hey, you can't do that. Well, I commend him for doing that. He might not have a whole lot of tact, but I don't know the situation because I haven't heard his side of the story yet. And as we all know, there's two sides to every story, right? So they were a little upset with the way that it was handled, and eventually, apparently this birdie juice made its way around the table twice. The starter said, you guys aren't having any more beer with us. And that got him riled up a little bit, saying, well, why'd you cut us off? Well, because you weren't following our rules, and you're putting us in jeopardy. The point of this is I wanted you to see this, and I will respond to this, but I also want to know going forward how this should be best handled. Is this something that we want to get the golf committee involved with and say, you know what? Obviously you didn't handle it. You didn't feel like we handled this well. Why don't we meet next month and you can present this in front of the golf committee? Or are you comfortable with me dealing with this and saying, you know what? Here are the 3 things that I'm concerned about. And we've identified who you are, and this won't happen again, because it can't happen again because of the ramifications. So I just wanted some input on this from you folks.
I don't think we're a jury, are we?
Okay.
Donna?
Well, I think part of it, as being member of the ladies group at Pebblebrook, we're aware that we're not supposed to bring our own alcohol to the golf course. And if we want to drink, we buy from the pro shop. So I think the policy just needs to be stated and everybody needs to be well aware of how it is.
So from your perspective, does signs need to be put up out on the patios that pursuant to Arizona revised statute X, nobody can bring any kind of alcohol other than that purchased? I mean, to a point, do we spend a lot of time and effort putting up these signs telling everybody what they can't do? Because I kind of don't like to see that, because it's like I'm always slapping somebody's hand. I'm hoping we're dealing with adults that understand this, but
Well, look, I guess
apparently they don't.
The question is, like, from the ladies league, we're all aware of it because we've been made aware of it. But I don't know, I can't speak for the rest of the community if they're aware of the policy.
Okay.
So I think they just need to be made aware, maybe not plastering signs, but making it known what
Okay.
the policy is.
It's already posted at the golf course.
In some spots, it sure is.
Yes,
Absolutely.
in all the restrooms.
Yes.
And the only thing wrong with what happened on that Sunday is that the starter did what he should have done. Now, maybe he was not the most diplomatic person
Right.
to do it, but they were at fault, not the starter.
Yeah, the conversation doesn't happen unless this occurs, right?
Correct.
I agree.
Ellen?
Where's the button? Turn the light on. Oh, didn't even remember.
What I don't understand is there's an awful lot of people that have birdie juice out on the course.
Mhm.
And I take it, I mean, I've seen the signs that said you're not supposed to.
Right.
But everybody said, oh, it doesn't matter. So, I mean,
So-
they don't care about this little bit.
No, so the way the law states is that on all 7 of our golf courses, not all of them have the golf course as described as part of the area that falls under our liquor license. Grandview, for example, all 18 holes falls under our liquor license. So legally, nobody should be having birdie juice. I believe there's one other golf course that falls under that. Most of the liquor licenses are written where it's clubhouse and patio,
Oh, okay, okay.
okay? And so once you creep into the patio on all 7 for sure, now you're in our space. And they look at that, that we should be able to control that space. And when we have somebody, and again, the big miss here is that person who has a couple, 3 or 4 of those passes, now gets in their golf cart, pops out on Deer Valley Road and gets side
Oh, yeah,
swiped.
yeah.
They're gonna be pointing fingers and said, you overserved that person. He never bought anything from us, but he was on your patio drinking somebody else's alcohol. You
Yeah,
should have controlled that.
I've never noticed anybody on the premise, just out on the
Right.
course someplace.
And again, we don't want to go through coolers on the golf course. We don't care. I mean, we do care, don't get me wrong. But somebody's gonna have a beer in there. Somebody's gonna have birdie juice in there. Somebody's gonna have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in there. I get it. But when you get into the clubhouse area, we can't tolerate that. And that's where that
Okay,
rub happens.
understand. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Tim?
Pat, I would say that this belongs better at the golf council to talk with the golf chartered clubs. And it also would not hurt to send a note out to the groups.
Okay, and this was a summer group.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who pull all the tables together and sit out on the patios and that sort of stuff. So that's where you should probably start, I think.
All right. So I'll deal with it.
Yeah, I
Very
would
good.
agree. You deal with it and
Very good. But if they have an issue and if they don't like the way I handled it, is this a recourse to them? They can come in and say, hey, I want to talk to golf council or golf committee. You have anything to do with it? It becomes strictly operational, doesn't it? Okay. We'll deal with it.
Okay, the other item I forgot was, I talked to Karen about our June meeting, and I said we probably wouldn't have a June meeting unless somebody from the our committee has a reason that we need a June meeting. So I'm hearing nobody saying we got a reason for a meeting, so the June meeting will be canceled.
Okay.
Face of play.
Okay.
With that,
Yeah.
meeting is adjourned,
Start.
and now